This is a sign that if by June the 8th there isn't a change in Israeli policy, a change in the way this war is run, particularly a commitment to make a bigger effort to release the hostages, a plan for the day after in Gaza, and that day after to include normalization of relations with Saudi Arabia down the road. If all of that doesn't happen, then I think this is the beginning of the end of the cooperation between the two. Benny Gantz and his party came into the government almost as soon as the war began because they could see there was not enough military experience in that cabinet, and they bolstered Netanyahu. But what he says now, what Benny Gantz says now, is decisions are not being made for defense reasons. They're being made for personal reasons or political reasons, being prioritized over national reasons. So he explained all that to the Israeli public. Then he looked into the camera and said, I'm looking straight at you, Benjamin Netanyahu. We worked together for many, many years. You were always a patriot. Are you still a patriot? You know what decisions have to be made. You're not making them. It's crunch time. Will you make the right decision? And just as I was coming on air, so some 5 or 6 minutes ago, we heard a quick response, a glib response, if you like, from Netanyahu, but the answer seems to be no. He says this is just a euphemism for the end of the war and the defeat of the state of Israel and the failure to return any hostages. So all of that, a very dramatic day in Israeli politics, and perhaps Netanyahu's answer will mean that Benny Gantz and his party will leave this government more quickly.
It's very interesting internal pressure there for Benjamin Netanyahu to deal with. And there is naturally external pressure with regards to those hostages still held by Hamas. This all comes as the IDF saying it's retrieved the body of another hostage from Gaza. 53-year-old Ron Benjamin was reportedly riding his bike in the kibbutz Be'eri when he was killed. That's before his body was taken by Hamas. And that's on the 7th of October when that happened at the Nova Music Festival day. Iris, what can you tell us more about Ron Benjamin and the reports of this latest hostage retrieval?
The retrieval of Ron Benjamin's body was part of the same operation that retrieved the 3 hostages' bodies yesterday. It's not quite clear to me why there's been this gap, but it appears to be. It's not, the Israeli military is not saying where they were retrieved from, but Israeli media is reporting that it was as a result of intelligence produced by interrogations of Hamas, of people taken prisoner during this fighting in the last little while, either in Jabalia or in Rafah. So they had intelligence, they knew where to go, and they found the bodies. So the fact that we now have, over the space of 24 hours, really, an announcement of 4 hostages who have been found, unfortunately not alive, does put greater pressure both on the families of the hostages and on this government. We have heard from international sources that there is simply no hostage negotiation at all taking place. Not in Cairo, not in Doha. It seems to have, fallen off the wire. But this tonight, I think the 4th body retrieved is pressure. I've just been watching the hostages protest in Tel Aviv. It's become very mainstream. We saw Israel's Eurovision contestants singing to the hostages. We saw Hillary Clinton addressing the hostages. It's become a very mainstream concern for Israelis. And the feeling is, certainly among the hostages' families, but also amongst more Israelis, if you read the polls, that this government is not doing enough to bring the hostages back. And I think that is becoming an Achilles heel for this government.
Yes, Iris. Even on Saturday, the campaign group Hostages and Missing Families Forum calling on Israeli authorities to strike a deal with Hamas and bring back the remaining hostages. Thanks so much, at least adding to that. Iris Makler coming to us from Jerusalem.